It's Thursday, March 13. In the headlines, Finance Minister Favour Williams announces a $2 billion loan facility for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. But MSME Alliance President wants more from the government. In business news, micro market to be established on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Regionally, Barbados' Prime Minister urges region to access billions for sustainable energy. And in sports, Jamaica's Cavalier FC to clash with Lionel Messi-led Inter Miami today, March 13. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Favour Williams, has announced a $2 billion facility for the Development Bank of Jamaica to lend to micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. The Finance Minister shared the information while making her opening presentation of the 2024-2025 budget debate in Parliament this week.
And to continue support women-led initiatives, entrepreneurship training, including digital skills bootcamp. $2 billion is in the budget for DBJ, Madam Speaker, for MSMEs. We have to commend our MSMEs. The latest figure from the Small Business Association of Jamaica is that there were an estimated 422,000 registered small businesses in Jamaica, generating, and get this figure, 80% of the jobs in the Jamaican economy.
However, President of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises MSME Alliance, Antoinette Hamilton, told Nationwide News that there was not enough in the government's latest budget to stimulate the environment for members of the business community.
A lot was said about the 130.6 billion in shock absorbers, but I don't think the engine was properly serviced because nothing was said about the banks reducing interest rates. So I don't think the government is listening. Nothing was said about the ease of access to financing. Yes, the 2 billion in loan financing was allocated to DBJ, but that still was lacking context because we don't know what was allocated before. So a little more context in that regard would have helped to see whether or not more oil is being put into the engine. The problem with that, though, is that the financing is not the issue. What is the issue is the access to it. And so we would have expected that, having spoken about the need for the government to remove the DBJ fees to make the access to financing more accessible for members, that didn't come out.
Minister Williams also announced an increase in the general consumption tax threshold for MSMEs from $10 million to $15 million. But Hamilton says the business community was expecting more.
We were contemplating between that and making the collection for GCT be on a cash basis as opposed to on an accrual basis. So if we had gotten a higher threshold and didn't get the accrual, the cash basis recommendation, we would have been satisfied. But 5 million more, that's not really much based on the context of small businesses, because this is really, you're moving from micro, because micro is up to 15, so this is really a micro initiative that they will benefit, so it's not so bad, but we were expecting more, especially given that the cash basis payment for GCT was not adopted.
The 2025-2026 budget debate in the House of Representatives continues this afternoon, with opposition spokesman on finance, planning and the public service, Julian Robinson, set to make his presentation. Opposition leader Mark Golding makes his presentation on Tuesday, March 18, and Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness presents on Thursday, March 20. Finance and Public Service Minister Favour Williams closes the debate on March 25. Big changes are coming for students relying on the Students' Loan Bureau. Finance Minister Favour Williams has announced that borrowers will soon have up to 10 years to repay their loans. This move is part of a broader plan to modernize the SLB and make student financing more accessible. Denida Rodney has that story.
The Minister of Finance made the announcement during her 2025-2026 budget debate presentation in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Minister Williams says the government plans to increase student loan amounts while also extending repayment periods.
We are committed to an increase in the loan amounts that students will be able to access, and for the disbursement to include not just tuition, but also housing, books and supplies, the cost of a laptop, and a stipend for meals. We are also committed to a meaningful reduction in interest rates on the various loans, and we are committed to longer loan payment periods.
She emphasized that while repayment periods will be extended, interest rates will remain the same.
This government, through the Student Loan Bureau, will be offering to new students a longer repayment period of 10 years instead of the current 7 and 5 years. And the rates will remain the same, meaning the rates will not increase because the payment period has increased. We are starting with that one step, Madam Speaker, and will work rapidly to ensure the systems are in place to roll out the new loan offerings to make the lives of our tertiary students better and allow them to focus on attaining their educational goals to benefit themselves, their families, and Jamaica as a whole.
She says a key focus is making the SLB more efficient.
It is working to move itself to another level, a higher level, with a new and improved customer platform, which should have been launched in 2022, but is now targeted for the first quarter of the new fiscal year 2025-26. This platform will allow students to view their loans, print statements, and pay their loans online, among other functions. The SBL reported to me that the biggest challenge that students have been complaining about is accessing the information about their loans. However, as the student loan says that once their platform is launched, students will see significant improvement in efficiencies.
Minister Williams also says the government is committed to improving SLB offerings by the start of the 2026-2027 academic year.
I want to put on record this government's commitment to improving the offerings from the Student Loan Bureau by the beginning of the school year in September 2026. A Capri study has given us excellent suggestions on how to modernize the student loan offerings. We are committed to doing the overhaul of the student loan system and will engage Capri as we start that process this upcoming fiscal year.
With these changes, the government, through the Student Loan Bureau, hopes to build bridges and transform dreams for students across Jamaica. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Denita Rodney.
The Caribbean Maritime University and the University of Technology, Jamaica, have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at fostering academic cooperation and advancing innovation in the region. At a signing ceremony at CMU's Kingston campus on Tuesday, CMU President Professor Andrew Spencer highlighted the significance of the partnership, saying, quote, "When the National University and the only IMO-accredited university in the Caribbean come together, only amazing, transformative, and powerful things can happen for our young people," end quote. Under the agreement, UTech will gain access to CMU's state-of-the-art Festo laboratories, specializing in mechatronics, electric vehicles, and Industry 4.0. UTEC President Dr. Kevin Brown emphasized that the collaboration will drive research and technological advancement. He says, quote, "We want to use this partnership to enhance our research output on optics and photonics and explore opportunities for joint degrees," end quote. Both institutions say the agreement will open doors for students and strengthen Jamaica's position in STEM education and innovation. Time now for the Business Report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, here to bring you the stories shaping the financial world and guiding your journey to smarter business decisions. Let's dive into the top headlines. Garnet Reid, president of the Small Business Association of Jamaica, has thrown his endorsement behind a new financial method for small businesses. A micro market will be established on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Finance Minister Favour Williams made the announcement during budget debate on Tuesday. The Jamaica Stock Exchange has identified over 250 micro and small businesses that do not meet the $50 million threshold for listing on the junior market. Minister Williams said that the micro market is expected to give added structure to more businesses as well as aid in growth and access to equity capital. She said a technical working committee to guide the process will be announced soon, with meetings to start early in the new fiscal year. The committee will be made up of stakeholders from the JSE, the Ministry of Finance, private sector security dealers, Companies Office of Jamaica, and the legal fraternity. Rohan Scott, a realtor, and Assistant Commissioner of Police, Anthony McLaughlin, agree that there has been an increase in the use of social media to scam would-be tenants seeking places to rent in recent times. Describing how the scam works to RJR News, Mr. Scott said scammers will hijack property listings and then turn them into a post on social media platforms and then collect down payments from prospective tenants. After prospects make deposit payments, the scammers then block the numbers and vanish without handing over the property keys. Caribbean Airlines launches daily flights between Montego Bay and Fort Lauderdale. The inaugural flight took off on March 11. CEO of Caribbean Airlines, Gavin Mareda, told RJR News that this is more than just a travel route. The service represents a crucial link for over 300,000 Jamaicans living in Fort Lauderdale and surrounding areas. The airline's expansion also includes an increase in service between Kingston and Fort Lauderdale. The route now has daily flights, shifting from the usual 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. With these additions, Caribbean Airlines will offer a total of 1,323 seats weekly between Fort Lauderdale and both Montego Bay and Kingston. For the trading period ending March 12, 2025, these were the most actively traded stocks. Investment house JMMB Group Limited 10% variable rate Jamaican dollar preference shares with 21,519,512 units traded represented 41.83% of market sales volume. Toll road operator Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with 6,975,975 units traded, representing 13.56% of market sales volume. Food and finance conglomerate Grace Kennedy Limited with 5,207,964 units traded, representing 10.12% of market sales volume. We now shift our focus to the Forex market rates set by the Bank of Jamaica. On March 12, 2025, the Bank of Jamaica reported US $66.01 million purchased and US $64.77 million sold by Forex traders. Forex traders earned $1.86 per dollar, selling the US at $157.70 and buying the US at $155.84. The Canadian dollar netted Forex traders 96 cents per transactions, with selling at $109.68 and buying at $108.72. The British pound yielded Forex traders $8.47 in profits, with selling at $205.53 and buying at $197.06. For our credit report tip of the day, divorce can take a toll, not just emotionally, but financially. If your credit took a hit, rebuilding isn't just about getting back on your feet. It's about creating new opportunities for wealth. A strong credit score can open doors to multiple streams of income. Here's how. Invest in stock market opportunities. Some brokers offer margin accounts that allow credit-worthy investors to leverage their funds for bigger gains. Alternatively, you can secure vendor credit for an e-commerce business. A strong credit profile helps obtain inventory on net 30 or net 60 payment terms. Now, when you're rebuilding from nothing to something and you're going after the goals of financial resilience and recovery, to the world, the outside world, you may seem accomplished. You've built a career, a business, or a reputation that commands respect. But inside, many professional women over the age of 45 might be wrestling with imposter syndrome, feeling like you haven't done enough, aren't as knowledgeable as people think, or you don't belong in certain rooms. One of the ways to get over this is attending networking and industry events. Here's why. First, you can position yourself for promotions. Visibility at industry events signals leadership readiness. Also, attending these events enhances your brand. Photos, content, and takeaways from events add credibility to your online presence. And that wraps up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, reminding you that every financial decision is a step toward your future. Until next time, stay focused, stay informed, and keep striving for success. See you soon.
In regional news, billions of US dollars in excess liquidity are sitting untapped. Money that could drive sustainable energy for Barbados and the region. Prime Minister Mia Mottley says regional partnerships are key to unlocking this critical financing. She made the call as she opened the 6th Sea for All conference. Rachel Agard reports.
One of those sustainable energy goals is to remove methane emissions by 2040. Prime Minister Mia Mottley says if small targets are set ahead of COP30, this can be achieved. She explains methane is 80 times more destructive than carbon. Prime Minister Mottley notes once that issue is addressed, it will buy time to scale up decarbonizing technology for fossil fuels.
It is therefore entirely possible for the world to see appreciable progress if we can settle not on a voluntary compact for the eradication of the methane that is destroying so much of our atmosphere, but for a global compact.
Minister of Energy and Business Development, Senator Lisa Cummins, says small island developing states are on the front line of crises facing the world.
The road from the creation of Sea for All to now, and from COP in Paris to Rio next year, up ahead, it is paved with promises that need to be met, deliverables that have to be accomplished, and the time to change must begin with us, right here, right now, in this moment, and not a moment later.
Meanwhile, CEO and Special Representative of the UN Secretary-General for Sustainable Energy for All, Damilola Unganbayai, says energy is more than a commodity as it is a human right. She says the energy transition offers opportunities of a lifetime, highlighting Barbados as an example with its aim to reach net zero by 2035.
We are at a pivotal moment in our transformation and the global energy transformation. There are two tides that are competing right now. How we collectively decide to act at this moment will determine whether we progress on our shared goals or we undo decades of action. As the global geopolitics evolves, international cooperation, especially on clean energy, is at an all-time low. And yet the economics of energy transition has never been more favorable, especially for developing countries.
The Sea for All conference ends tomorrow. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Grenada is pushing back against a U.S. State Department notice on Cuba's labor export program. Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Andal insists Grenada's ties with Cuba will remain strong. The details in this report.
Viva la amistad entre Cuba y Grenada.
Long live friendship between Cuba and Grenada.
Approximately 3 weeks after the U.S. administration announced the expansion of an existing Cuba-related visa restriction policy that targets forced labor linked to the Cuban labor export program, Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Andal said Grenada will be standing with Cuba. The announcement on the State Department website said, this expanded policy applies to current or former Cuban government officials and other individuals, including foreign government officials, who are believed to be responsible for or involved in the Cuban labor export program, particularly Cuba's overseas medical missions. Addressing the matter in the Parliament while contributing to the 2025 budget debate, the Foreign Affairs Minister said Grenada not only has a legal, moral and ethical obligation to stand by the people of Cuba, but the island should avoid being opportunistic or transactional as it pertains to the relations between both countries.
Cuba continues to be a trustworthy friend and partner, not only of Grenada, not only of the Caribbean, but of peoples the world over. When the COVID pandemic broke out, Cuban doctors went as far as Italy to provide services. I didn't hear anybody talk about human trafficking or nothing like that.
Informing the House that Grenada as a sovereign state has an obligation to Cuba, Joseph said Cuba, which has had a U.S. embargo since 1962, has provided tremendous help to the island.
Were it not for the selfless support of Cuba, many of us would not have had the opportunities for further education that we got.
He said the island's healthcare system could collapse if the Cuban medical personnel are removed.
Our health infrastructure would collapse without the generous intervention of Cuba. And for that, we must always take a principled stand.
Cherry and Blackman Stephen, GBN News.
Trinidad and Tobago nationals will now need a visitor visa to travel to the United Kingdom. Terry-Ann Brown-Campbell has the story.
There is a new visitor visa requirement for Trinidad and Tobago nationals who want to travel to the United Kingdom. Here with the story is Terry-Ann Brown-Campbell.
British High Commissioner to Trinidad and Tobago, John Dean, in a social media message, said the visa requirement for Trinidad and Tobago nationals headed to the United Kingdom has changed from Wednesday, March 12th. He indicated the change comes in the wake of an uptick of Trinidad and Tobago nationals seeking asylum in the UK.
This means that all Trinidad and Tobago nationals must obtain a visa before travelling to the UK for all visits. Trinidad and Tobago nationals will no longer be eligible to travel under the Electronic Travel Authorisation Scheme, and those planning to transit through the UK will now need a direct airside transit visa.
In response, Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amory Brown, acknowledged that the move is within the UK's right as a sovereign nation. Though he noted This country had indicated its disappointment to the UK government on the new visa requirements, as it is a relatively small number of TNT nationals who are taking advantage of the ETA program to apply for asylum after arrival. Up to Tuesday, TNT nationals could travel to the UK for up to 6 months without a visa under the Electronic Travel Authorization Scheme. The TNT Chamber of Industry and Commerce also responded to the change, noting that while the body understands the decision of the UK Home Office, it believes that the development may have the potential to affect key areas of bilateral engagement, including trade, investment, tourism, student mobility, and cultural exchange. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
In sports, we kick off with football. Argentine football star Lionel Messi landed on Jamaican soil on Wednesday night. The football legend was greeted and presented with a Bob Marley souvenir T-shirt by Sport Minister Olivia Babsy-Grange at the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston. Messi arrived in Jamaica with his Inter-Miami club squad for the second leg of their CONCACAF Champions Cup round of 16 tie with Jamaican club Cavalier FC, scheduled for the National Stadium in St. Andrew Thursday night.
I'm feeling very happy. I'm happy that Jamaica is able to host, I would say, high-profile matches. Having Messi and other high-profile players here, it makes Jamaica look good.
Inter-Miami defeated Cavalier 2-0 in the first leg, leaving the Jamaican champions with everything to play for in this decisive second leg clash.
I'm also proud of Cavaliers, the fact that they get to play with some of the most outstanding players in the world and to compete with them. Very proud of Cavaliers, and that is why I put my money where my mouth is. We made a contribution of $10 million to Cavaliers to be prepared for this match.
If Lionel Messi takes to the field, it will mark his highly anticipated return, as he has been resting since February 25. Turning to athletics, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, commends both local and overseas workers involved in the resurfacing of the running track at the National Stadium. She has toured the facility and she praised the team's efforts. She also notes that the resurfacing work was completed ahead of schedule and assured the public that taxpayers would not be required to pay more than the $350,000 budgeted for the project. The resurfacing was led by track suppliers Recordton in collaboration with Independence Park Limited. That's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.